Yo guys, I'm Yellow, the Norwegian hardcore PC gamer, and today, as I told you guys about earlier on, we are going to take a look at Nuke and how to play this map, and what better example to take a look at than Astralis or Virtus.pro playing on this map right here. Now, at this moment in time, in the previous major that we had, Virtus.pro was able to beat SK, as you can see top right, and Astralis beat Fnatic, as you can see top left. Now, I believe Astralis already were able to face Fnatic on this map earlier on, and you could see that Astralis knew how to play this map in general, while Fnatic, if my memory is not mixing the teams up, didn't have as much of a clue. Now, when I'm stating that, what I'm alluding to is that Astralis know how to play Nuke, and they are pretty firm with their defense and their aggression, as T-side as well. But it pales in comparison with Virtus.pro, and you'll see that eventually as this game dives deeper and deeper into what is going on. And so I guess you should say spoiler alert, alright? You should have seen this map already and know who won, if you do care about this game. But if you don't, well, I go figure. This is not really the channel where you're taking a look at gameplays and you're expecting to, for me to, you know, keep spoilers intact, I guess. But anyways, that's not really important. What is important is, as you can see right here, we got Neo getting killed with a lot of utility by Device, and Device here did something that CT side, ironically, sadly enough, have to eventually do in certain scenarios on this map. The reason is that if T-side have a very firm defense, or if they're already on a push, in either scenario, if they get to face a dude, and especially if they get one of their teammates killed, that means that they're going to be in a pinch, because that means that Astralis could, for example, flank around. Then again, it kind of sort of depends on whether or not the CT side will be aggressive or not, and that's aside from the raw information they get, but there are like a double risk in what I just mentioned, because if T-side know that their plan has been found out, this map is one of those maps where getting retakes and getting flanks done and having good positions, as the little debug text top left is screwing everything over. It looks insane, but yeah, aside from that, frags are happening, so focus, please. Yeah, that aside, fact is that, yeah, flanking and retaking here on this map is very, very important, and that is kind of sort of why Astralis here was able to do a very good job on the B side. This is one of the sites in which, if you want to have some decent control, and you'll see this in the second half of this video, I'll now, in this episode, I guess, mini episode, go through the 15 first rounds. In the last 15, where Virtus.pro will head on to the CT side instead of T side, you'll see that they will basically play this map as you should from the CT side, and it is night and day when you compare Virtus.pro's CT side to Astralis' CT side. But all this being said, go figure, Virtus.pro here will keep on doing a lot more stuff right, and it goes without saying that, you know what, no team here will be perfect, and Astralis are really, really good with what they're already doing. It is sadly them thus also ignoring a lot of the important choke points that you have to keep focus on here, as you can see that Virtus.pro now decide to go for one of those more telegraphed type of plays, which can be slightly difficult to fend off, even though you know what is going on. So that is worth pointing out, that even if a play on this map is telegraphed, it will still be difficult for you to deal with that because of how exactly when grenades will be thrown down. That's a bit iffy to predict, and that is aside from the matter of fact that nowadays people just tend to throw 2, 3, or even 4 flashbangs, wrecking any visibility that you might have, because, you know, to a certain degree, you want to think that, right? Like, okay, so he threw a 1 flashbang, now I can turn to take a look, right? Bam! A new flashbang lands right in your eyes and you can't see anything. That is fairly normal at the higher level of the game, and so go figure, you're gonna have a terrible, terrible time, even if you're trying to do something against a telegraphed play, so go figure. But as you also can see here, Virtus.pro is kind of sort of not really doing what you would expect. First they throw a couple of smokes to hinder the enemy's visibility, and then they head in with a couple of Molotovs to clear out some of the angles so that the rest of their players can do proper executions. And this actually, with the less movement that the CT side have on the heaven area right here, maximizes the efficiency of the grenades, combined with them actually here being able to put on some serious pressure, almost wrecking completely everything of Astralis' retake attempt right here, in which that is arguably what I would say that Astralis here should do, except for the matter of fact, though, that they weren't able to deal well enough with the grenades, and that's aside from maximizing their efforts, as they here actually got not enough kills, but a decent chunk of kills on on their crusade to death. I was gonna say that doesn't make any sense. You know what I mean. They got wrecked basically, but they did at least try and defend the site. Dupree and Sufex in the previous round did not get any kills, and that is kind of crucial as well, because if even one of those guys got one kill, that could have meant that one of their teammates would stay alive, and that's pretty basic probability play at hand right there, because that means that you know what, that last dude getting a kill, I think it was Snacks, or maybe it was Neo, I can't remember on the top of my head, but yeah, the last dude from Virtus Pro that was able to kill the last Astralis member in the previous round, go figure, maybe that he would have been traded out again. So yeah, go figure. It's always important to be very good on the A side, because it seemed to be still one of the most annoying sides to deal with at all if you are going to be a CT guy, or rather a T guy trying to get into the eyes of the CT, I was gonna say. Mixing up my words. Go figure, I'm not a pro caster for many reasons, this is one of them. But anyways, speaking on top of my head, here you can see that Astralis is trying to do what is right, but Virtus Pro is doing everything more right. And that might sound like a dumb fucking statement, alright? I gotta say, I think it is. But it doesn't really matter in the longer run, because fact is that they almost really didn't have any interactions. If Astralis really wanted to take up the fight here with Virtus Pro, that could have meant, or should have meant, that they met Virtus Pro on the B side, something that is fairly difficult. I mean, also they did try, but they didn't really have any success because of how Virtus Pro have a lot of good weapons, and that is really going to make your time and your life very hard when fighting against rifles. And that is aside from the matter of fact that there are a couple of long lines of sights that you can shoot down with any ARs in this game, and that makes the AK-47, or actually any weapons that have a little bit of range, sort of useful on the B site. A little bit more difficult in the A site, but also in the yard. If you decide to take that site in general, that area of the map in general, you're gonna have a way better time if you decide to use long-range weapons. You can, on the contrary though, use close-up weapons, especially if you're on an eco, and you'll eventually see Virtus Pro doing just that, but that's not really too, I guess you could say, useful and easy to execute if you're going to play out in yard, so that is why that doesn't happen too often, even though I would recommend that to be done by anybody that really want to try and inch out the most efficiency of your weaponry and money and such, if you truly want to go for maybe like an A pincer move, or just harassing enemies in yard to get a better weapon, or maybe do like, I mean, after all, if you take yard as a T side, you can now attack heaven, and you can also attack straight through the little main or mini area, as some people like to call it. So I mean, you do get options if you can take yard, but it's not necessarily something you can rely too much on. But that being said, as Dupree here in Insanity's little position right there gets annihilated. Go figure. It's not gonna be easy even if you're facing all of these guys head on. But yeah, that being said, man, they just got ran over right here. Neo, I do believe he got. Actually, it might have been on the earlier couple of rounds. He got way more mileage out of his UMP than what is normal whatsoever. So that's pretty cool. I think this is the exact UMP that he kept all the way from like 3 rounds ago. So that's kind of cool to point out, because he won the last couple of engagements with that weapon, if my memory doesn't screw me over. But anyways, so yeah, let's move into then a couple of other things, and that is a little bit about the evolution here of how Virtus Pro decided to play T-side. And they're pretty much doing almost everything right. One of the things they're doing is that they're changing up their play almost every single time. This makes it very annoying for Astralis to put up a proper defense that will firmly shut off Virtus Pro. One of the ways you can set up a proper defense, as Device here barely see one of the T-side players, is that, yeah, a good way to fend off the T-side is to maintain control of the choke points. And some of the choke points will be the vent. Some of the choke points will be here close to the little blue area on the A side. And the reason for this is because now you can only get through the vent in like one position. That will be what people normally call the T-side vent. Now I guess we just call it vent because there's only one of them. Aside from you being inside the vent, which is going to obviously require a lot of other calls. But anyways, the fact is thus that like every single point in which you can, for example, make any serious push through, as you can see here, the T side is all the way down, so they've been able to get through yard. Aside from if they in other rounds want to go through the vent, which is almost equally as useful. Go figure. Like that's a lot of positioning that in which you, if you can just engage the enemy right there, you'll be able to either deal a lot of damage and die and stagger them them a little bit, or you'll be able to maybe completely fend off their play. And that is going to be obviously incredibly useful when you're trying to deal as much damage as possible, in which what Astralis is doing here in general, almost regardless of what the Virtus.pro is doing, it's not good enough. And that is very unfortunate. So now here we got a little bit of a hunt, very classic play if you're up on the money and you're up on the men and you're trying to make it so that life will be the most difficult for the CT side, as Shadby here is able to get at least one kill. Another one here, and then he got killed in the end. And that means that Virtus.pro is now 4-1 here, up, and they have the better money, they have a decent bank, and they can even lose a couple of rounds if they so desire. Now, Astralis had a little bit of a timeout. This timeout is probably going to be used in order to try and analyze the enemy, figure out what they're doing. This is kind of a wasted timeout, I would say, and that's not because it's a bad timeout. Maybe it's also not because of how they got bad info, but it's actually, honestly, because of how Virtus.pro is being so random in terms of their plays, because of what you can do on this map, because there's so many different areas that you can attack with proficiency if you play together as a team, which is something that people, even on the previous version of the map, just didn't really do in general, and that was very frustrating for me to have to deal with, because I was honestly one of the way better people that just played the old version of Nuke in general. Now I don't really want to play this version too much though, because I don't really get that hot frame rate, you know, that 150 to 300-400, in which you can see top right, my frame rate is pretty subpar. Very, very not good if you want to hit crisp shots and such things. But that aside, fact is that on this very round, T-side here is only taking long-range gunfights. They're inching themselves in. They're only trying to trade at worst if somebody are trying to hold and fend off some sort of choke point, and they ended up on A, which is fairly good considering the CT guys here, Device, Dupree, Suffix, and Shelby here are all scattered about, holding good positions, but they're only trying to get single basic eco-frags, and it's not really becoming the most easy of tasks, aside from the lovely little range deagle play by Shelby here, which is pretty cool, because, I mean, the deagle have some range, and so it actually works in the only area which it will work to any degree, and that is obviously, you know, like long-range fighting. But yeah, let's then move over to, I think I almost was able to finish up what I was going to say. I was talking about the previous map. The previous map had a little bit more long range in general, more frame rate in general. You had a little bit more options, and I think that screwed over the T side if they didn't really know what to do in terms of team play. Yeah, I think I mentioned that regarding team play in Yarn and such things, didn't I? Yeah, okay, so I'm just backtracking a bit, because there's a lot of stuff here that is going on, and I have to try and keep track on. And that's aside from the matter of fact that I gotta kind of hold off some of the information for the second half of this video, or rather this second video, because at round 15 I'll cut everything off. But yeah, I was talking about the information that Astralis got by taking the break. Because of how it was an eco round, and because of the style that Virtus.pro is playing at, you aren't really getting that lovely benefit of taking a little bit of a time to analyze what the enemies are doing, because of the matter of fact that they are doing something different every time. That doesn't mean, however, that you aren't going to be able to deal with them. After all, Astralis are highly skilled, and that is something that will shine through in a couple of rounds here. As you can see, Bialy here and his guys are trying to now set up for a lovely little execute towards the A site. Whether or not that is going to be successful, it stands to see, as everybody now are rolling into sight, as my frame rate dips down to high hell. Device here trying to finish off a couple of people. I think he should use the AWP instead until he's dead, or until he maybe might be dead. And Bialy here is finally getting almost killed here on the side. And this is kind of what happens when you then finally are fending off the enemies as they're attacking a site. And in fact, this is not really about fending off the site, alright? So you guys must remember that on the A site right here, there are going to be like 2 or 3 choke points, alright? Or I guess we could say 2 for the sake of being nitpicky, ignoring heaven, okay? So you have the squeaky door down to the vent and the mini area, and that's aside from the blue little hut, or blue or whatever you want to call it. That's kind of like, if you're super nitpicky, that's like 1, 2, 3, 4 small choke points, in which like 2 or 2.5 are like super close to each other, and then you have the mini. Or you could even say like they're 2 or 4 or 3, like you can mix it up, but alright, like, when you just have a lot of eyeballs on an area like that, and everybody on the T side decide to like run into the A side, it's gonna be Armageddon for Virtus.pro, you know? And that happened here. And that is going to happen for Astralis on the previous, in the next little episode chunk thingamajig of this map, alright? Round 15 and outwards. So go figure. Obviously, when you do it properly, defense on the site that is going to be hit properly, it's not going to be easy for you. However, it requires you to actually have gear, which is the case right here with the CT side, and that's aside from the matter of fact that even if you have good executes, as device kills the BL here, even if you have good executes and all that sort of stuff, it's not going to be easy for you to deal with that, even because of how I find the A side to be a little bit more what is the word I'm looking for? It's a lot more tight and just condensed. It's a lot more just tiny in general. And what that means in a real life scenario is that if you now, for example, throw down a smoke grenade, it's going to take up more space. If you throw a flashbang, it's maybe going to hit even closer to your face, or maybe closer to multiple people, and that's obviously not going to be good either. And that's aside from Molotovs doing just about the same. Do you honestly think that you're going to live through such a fucking hellish kind of experience? And especially when all the CTs on the A side are sitting up here at the rafter area thingamajigs, in which most of them are made out of pure metal, and you can literally use them as cover? That's not going to be an easy task, alright? So you better be incredibly careful of what you're doing. And I guess if I can jump out here and just show you guys, this is why I would stress people to try and figure out spots in which you can wallbang through the glass walls right here. Yes, the damage isn't that much, but if you shoot maybe like you buy two ops and both shoot at one particular area, and you know that somebody might camp over at this area with the op, you're going to be able to deal massive damage. And I think that could honestly be a valid strategy if you are able to just figure out exactly the proper angles in order to be able to get a leg up when you are hitting the A site. Because if you are facing a full CT team on the A site, that's honestly one of the worst things you can do, especially if everybody are prepared. But if they're not, it can and will work, and we've seen that already happen in the previous couple of rounds. Now at last, you can see again Virtus Pro decide to switch things up. They're all collectively going out here into secret, except for one player keeping their back. Or maybe that's a decoy. I might actually see this wrong because I'm a potato. No, that's actually a player, and that's cool. I think that's like Bialy, which is, for whatever reason, player number 0. Isn't that supposed to be a decoy, the decoy number? I could just be... My mind is blown, alright? I'm just kidding. Anyways, what is kind of key to point out here as well is that here Device actually comes out with a pretty good performance with his op right here, shooting down most of the people. Snacks is a lone last guy, and he's doing everything he can in order to try and survive, as he's getting bamboozled by a shot there, and he finally goes down. So that goes to show that even if you can rattle off a couple of shots, you might want to do that to scare people off and fuck with their head so that they might be easier to fend off, or rather kill for the CT side. So now we got round number 10. Let's see how it pans out. There's a lot of rounds that happens. It's kind of difficult to remember all of them. So thus far, not too much has happened. This is a glorious, lovely, very simple eco round from Virtus Pro. And they are all just standing around, using the proficiency of the pistols, being super fucking overpowered up close. And that is exactly what you should do. Taz here, I enjoy what he's doing. Snacks here, almost shooting his teammate, not good. He does get killed by Device though, and that is very predictable because he had a deagle, but I mean an op, it will most likely be way easier for him to kill Taz, you know, because I mean after all, what the hell are you gonna do when you only have a pistol? Anyways, they were still able to get down the bomb, and that is like half of the goal of this round, aside from winning the eco round, even though that is fairly difficult if you never are able to get in a position where you have a weapon. So that's all good and fair. It does, however, mean that the T side now will have plenty of money to buy almost everything that they want, and that is going to be very annoying for Astralis to deal with, because Virtus Pro have thus far only played upon, I was going to say RNG, but that is not really fair to say. They've been able to stretch out the most mileage of their side of the map to a ridiculously high degree, but I believe that they can still do even more, and go figure, that's most likely what we will see maybe right now, or maybe in the next couple of rounds. There's still at least 4 more rounds on his side, and Device decides to entry with a couple of good nades for yard here, trying to make life for the T side a bit more difficult. Snacks trying to get up on the vent right here. I find this actual jump to be very annoying. I gotta learn that reliably. I think that will allow me to get into a position like Snacks would get to here a little bit faster, and that is something that you would desire, because let's say that you want to take this gunfight right here where Device is standing against him with an op, based upon your spawn maybe. That could be good. It's a bit difficult to do though, but that's one of the many ways in which you can maybe break up and get a lot of yard positioning, especially with Scout, by the way. The Scout, while being very RNG filled at long ranges, and that is incredibly annoying, especially when you try to hit very crisp long range shots, that can be incredibly difficult. But when you're on an eco round, that could be worth its weight in gold if you're able to just get it done. So now they finally start to chuck out a couple of nades for yard, and it looks like Virtus.pro really are interested in that yard position. Whether or not they're going to try and dive into the mini area or not stands to see. It does not have to be the case though, but Glaive here is trying to go for yet another hero play, and that is actually something you should do, as I mentioned earlier, because that screws off and throws off the T side. Then again, he actually did it from a position that is almost worthless, and so it's not really going to have the value that he was looking for. TAS, I do believe they're trying to go for a lurk play, didn't really pay off too much. Pasha got the free, but the sniper finally got shot as he killed Neo as well. And suddenly we are in a 2v2 situation in which Bialy here actually helps out, but sadly though, Sufix gets traded out, and it's yet another win for Virtus.pro. I think that this round right here was way more even than it should have been. Both sides just started to fight each other, you know, like eventually one dude overextended and he couldn't get this last bullet on the last guy. And, you know, when one bullet is all you need, that's kind of like an overextension you don't really can't afford. Because every single round that you're getting on this way more balanced map is worth its weight in gold. And so here you can see a very peculiar pause just ended from Virtus.pro. And this I really like, because you gotta remember that the defense of Astralis will be somewhat more stationary, stable, and static versus what Virtus.pro will do in terms of playing T-side, and especially with the style of this map and with the style of how Virtus.pro decide to play this map, which is incredibly useful, because that means that the pause they just had, whatever information they accumulate, this will give them a way better picture of what or what not Astralis might do eventually. And here Snack starts off with killing Device, and that is a very crucial kill, taking down the star AWPer of the enemy team, if that terminology makes any sense. Despite this though, I do believe that Glaive here got a very cheeky position, and this is going to be annoying for Virtus.pro, but it doesn't matter too much in the longer run, because, and interestingly enough, Glaive here is kind of isolated as he gets 1 kill, 2 kills there, and Kjærby kills Pasha. So that's 3 kills for them. But despite this, there's still a lot of information gained about how Astralis is playing, despite what Astralis now learned in this round. And that means that the information that they got from the pause they can use later in the rounds. And that's aside from whatever might happen this round right here. We'll see eventually what happens. That's a very unfortunate little peek there, not working out for Glaive. But I mean, he already got the hero play done, screwed over the terrorist side, and so it's not really that surprising what happened in this round thus far. So now I do believe that they're going to mostly try and save. Yeah, that's Neo killing Sufix as he tried to get into secret. Now they know where they are, so Astralis might actually want to jump in here. And actually, they are going to save the gear because they don't have the biggest bank. Actually, they did have a somewhat decent bank, so it's half dumb to not try and kill the Virtus.pro guys there. But they didn't do it, so I mean that's on them really. And even more so when you know where the guys are, it's kind of dumb to not try. After all, when Virtus.pro have been able to already get 6 rounds, that speaks miles, or I don't, how does that term even work, or that saying? Speaks volumes, there we go, it speaks volumes of what they're capable of doing on this side of the map, and that's aside from the break they already had, in which they've already been able to regurgitate and analyze what the enemies are doing, in which they should have a fair image of what is going to go down here. Alright, so Device here already seeing 1 guy, checked out the molly. That's already 800 bucks of utility straight down the drain, aside from that smoke, which came from his buddy. So that's already 1100. No shots hitting. Very good. I wonder if you can wallbang that vent. I don't think you can, but I think you can Molotov above it, so that could be very risky for a CT side. So I think that that is something that enemies should do, or people in general should do in the future as T side, because you can effectively get somebody out of an entire choke point on the map if you know what you're doing. But yeah, eventually though we can see that the guys decide to go for maybe a little bit of a yard pressure, and it ends with a very clean dink in the head of Glaive from an AWP, and that's exactly what the guys need. And now they're trying to capitalize instantly on this. So the bomb and 2 extra people, the bomb carrier and 2 extra people, are going straight down with an AWP and close-up weapons and everything. So that's exactly what you need, almost regardless. And that is going to be a huge thorn in the side for Astralis, as I was going to say. Virtus.pro might basically take this one just from the presence alone. And let's not forget that Virtus.pro had 2 teammates that were ready to flank around, and they can have almost any weapon as long as it's something that will dink you up close, and especially the Tech 9 is going to be an incredibly annoying and lethal weapon to deal with. Taz here now having an M4A1, so go figure. I'm pretty sure that he might have been one of the people that did some damage from the side. Biala did go down here though, so the flank is coming in, and that's basically what you have to do as CT side, but they were not prepared at all, and that's aside from some of the people initially getting killed here, making the life of Astralis very difficult, because that's one of the main things you gotta do. You gotta be as effective as T-side is when going to the site as when you're retaking it. If not, your days are over. Snacks here though, like, this basically comes down to somewhat skill. I mean, after all, they had 3 people in the end, and he was able to kill 2 of them. Last man blowing up with a bomb. And so I guess it's fair to say here that Astralis was basically doing everything they could, and they weren't able to beat Virtus Pro. But because of Snack's little hero performance there, a little bit of a star performance, or rather a very crucial inching out of the round there, he was able to save the round, and that's exactly what they needed, giving them 7 rounds on the board right now, and that's very good, I would say, for it being T-side, but also for this team not being as good as they could become in the future of T-side, I would say. To be honest, the more you analyze people playing this map right now, you understand that there's so much more that you can do with a skilled team. Now, as I mentioned earlier, the hero plays. Completely ruined by Snacks. I love it. I wish like they threw a grenade like I would, and then maybe rattled a couple of bullets only at the side. After all, that was where they got killed from. But sadly though, that didn't really go the way to Astralis, but that's honestly one of the things you gotta kind of do, but it was just not enough, you know. It was just not enough, and that's too bad, really, too bad. But anyways, they were able to deal some serious damage still, and because of this, the round is not over yet, and that's incredibly important when you are at this high level of the game. You gotta always try and fight and claw your way back to victory, even if it seemed to be completely impossible, in which, in some of those case scenarios, that might be when it is possible. Now, a very crucial point here is that they planted on the B site instead of the A site. That means that Sufix was far out of position, and the range ruined him thanks to the AK-47. Take note of that. The B site is just, it gifts you rounds when it comes down to how you're supposed to play the game because of the range factor. So you should never route out the possibility and the importance of said weapon on said site. That's aside from just the angles in general being very awkward when you're trying to hit the A site, which is why taking R is way more interesting if you're going to take the A site as well. At least that is what I would recommend. Then again, anything can work if the enemies aren't always completely prepared. So go figure, anything can work, but I mean like that's Counter-Strike nowadays. A fucking pistol dude can run up and headshot 5 people with 5 bullets. It's absolute insanity. Now here, Snacks I think should have been able to get punished, but instead Pasha actually goes down. Now that's very interesting. Bialy though also kills Glaive here, while is that Glaive or Chadby? Chadby, yeah, it gotta be, yeah. He actually took the most insane position there. I think that's like absolute pure insanity, the fact that he stood there. It feels creepy. I think he should have gotten the kill, but that's something that we gotta remember, because that's incredibly sinister and crazy. Sitting there beneath with the smoke and stuff. But you know what, like, people are eventually going to find the most crazy places combined with the most insane smokes on this map, so go figure. That's the evolution of the new maps, right? This is, however, the last round of the first half. And believe me, the next half Virtus Pro is going to play on is going to be night and day compared to Astralis. So when that video goes up, go figure, you are going to enjoy it. I say that word a lot, alright? Anyways, I mean, those are called word bugs for a reason. I don't want them to be there, but my brain just randomly, accidentally pushes out those words. So at last, here we got Sifex, and he's going to try and clutch it. It will most likely not happen because he have a 5-7, in which is only effective up close. And of course, the guys had to take the site in which is going to have the most long-range engagements on them. He did hit that shot on Is this? Yeah, it's Neo though, but it's not going to be enough because he's facing an AK-47, and yeah, he basically have to make a perfect pre-fire headshot hit there for him to be able to do anything. And that basically concludes this video. I gotta say that I'm fairly scrubbish at making any type of live commentary type videos of this style, and that's aside from live analyzing these videos as they go on a roll. But this should have been fairly informative to you guys of what you should do on T side and what will work, and that's aside from what is not going to work and what will work for Astralis on CT side. I will, however, make everything even more clear, and everything will be way more clear and transparent in the next coming video, because then Virtus Pro will be on CT side, the most insane side if you play it properly, or the most difficult one if you have no clue what you're doing. And Astralis is going to see how well they were able to prod and pry, similarly to what was able to give Virtus Pro 9 rounds on T-side. So hopefully you guys will take a look at that whenever that do go up. So anyways, thanks for watching. If you want to support me and my work and all that sort of stuff, I would recommend you to take a look at the description. If you become a Patreon, you get lovely benefits aside from supporting the channel and all the stuff I do on here. So that's about it. Thanks for watching. Have a nice day, and don't get beastified when you play.